Hello, m'ladies of inestimable value. The more you understand people, the less you want to be around them. That's not bitterness. That's the sound of clarity after years of giving humanity the benefit of the doubt and watching it fumble the bag every single time. Here's a fact. According to psychology studies, people lie in at least 1 out of every 10 conversations. And that's just the average. Add a filter, fake smile, or hidden motive, and you're basically swimming in a pool of polished deception. Now imagine being a Sigma female, highly intuitive, deeply self-aware, and 10 steps ahead of everyone's hidden agenda. You think she's impressed? No, she's exhausted. Sigma females aren't antisocial. They're just done socializing with chaos disguised as connection. They didn't turn cold. They got frostbite from too many fake hugs. And no, they're not being dramatic. They've just stopped pretending that nonsense is normal. So if you've ever wondered why Sigma females have mentally packed their bags and left humanity on read, stay tuned. Because what you're about to hear isn't filtered, isn't sugar-coated, and definitely isn't designed to make you comfortable. Let's get into it. Number 1. Most people confuse loudness with intelligence. Most people think being loud means being right. They think the one who talks the most, interrupts the fastest, or shouts the boldest must know what they're talking about. That's where Sigma females tap out, because from what they've seen, the loudest voice in the room is usually just echoing nonsense wrapped in confidence. It's exhausting to witness, let alone pretend to respect. These women watch entire rooms fall silent for someone who's mastered the art of saying absolutely nothing with extreme conviction. Meanwhile, the ones with substance, the thinkers, the observers, the ones who've actually lived, get drowned out because they're not performing like circus acts. Sigma females have had front-row seats to this loud charade for years. They've worked with, lived with, and even dated people who couldn't go 5 minutes without turning a conversation into a stage. It's not that Sigma women are quiet because they're shy. No, they're quiet because they're scanning, listening, calculating. And 9 times out of 10, they realize that most people aren't saying anything worth replying to. It's just recycled opinions, borrowed quotes, or emotional outbursts dressed as passion. And the worst part, society rewards it. It celebrates drama over dialogue, noise over nuance. The one yelling the loudest gets the followers, the job offer, the applause, while the one with the actual insight gets dismissed as too intense or too quiet to lead. Sigma females realized the world stopped caring about quality and started worshipping theatrics. And that's when the detachment started. They don't want to compete with people who are loud for sport. They don't want to argue with parrots who read one tweet and act like philosophers. They don't want to keep giving energy to environments that promote noise pollution as intelligence. So they left, not physically but mentally. They pulled back, disengaged, and started investing their energy where silence is respected and thought is still sacred. Because when you've got a mind that's wired for truth, it's impossible to keep pretending that loud equals smart. And once you realize that most people are just talking to avoid thinking, there's nothing left to argue about. You just quietly walk away and never look back. Number 2, being real is now considered a flaw. Being real used to be a strength. Now, it's treated like a flaw. Sigma females learned that the hard way. The more honest they were, the more uncomfortable people got. The more direct they were, the more they were labeled things like harsh, intimidating, or too much. All for simply saying what everyone else was thinking but too afraid to admit. At first, they tried to tone it down, speak softer, use disclaimers, wrap the truth in pretty packaging. But even then, people flinched. It wasn't the delivery, it was the reality people couldn't handle. In today's world, fakery is a survival tactic. Everyone's putting on some version of themselves that's more likable, more acceptable, more brand-friendly. Sigma females have no patience for that kind of emotional theater. They don't perform, they don't play cute, and they don't shrink themselves to be palatable. And because of that, they're often seen as a problem in spaces where comfort matters more than truth. They're not being dramatic. They're just being real in a world addicted to delusion. The worst part, people say they want authenticity until they actually get it. Suddenly they're offended, defensive, taking things personally. But the Sigma female wasn't attacking anyone. She was just done dancing around the truth to protect people's feelings. She doesn't come with filters. She doesn't code her language. What she says is what she means. No secret message, no sugar, just clarity. And that scares people who aren't ready to face themselves. She's been pushed out of social circles for not playing the fake game. She's been left out of conversations because her presence makes people nervous. And it's not because she's mean, it's because she sees through things. She cuts the fluff. And that level of honesty? It's threatening in a culture built on pretending. So eventually she stopped showing up. Not because she didn't care, but because she got tired of being the only one not faking it. She'd rather be alone than dilute herself just to fit in with people who fear realness. If being real makes her the villain, so be it. At least she doesn't have to lie to herself to feel accepted. And that's exactly why she walked away from the crowd and never looked back. Number 3. The world doesn't know what to do with a woman who doesn't beg for approval. A woman who doesn't crave applause unsettles people. A woman who doesn't play the approval game? That's dangerous. Sigma females have mastered something society doesn't know how to process: being enough without being validated. They don't need anyone to stamp their worth, clap for their choices, or co-sign their existence. They wake up knowing who they are, and that alone makes them suspicious in a world that thrives on external validation. Most people are chasing likes, compliments, and group acceptance just to feel grounded. But Sigma females are built different. They move in silence, not because they're shy, but because they don't owe anyone a performance. They don't need a tribe screaming "Yes, Queen" to know they're doing fine. Their confidence is internal, not rented from trends, titles, or relationships. And because she's not begging to be seen, people label her arrogant, cold, too proud, too distant. But that's not pride, it's self-possession. And self-possession in a woman, that scares the hell out of people. Society has no template for her. They expect women to be softer, more agreeable, more available. They expect her to seek permission. When she doesn't, it short-circuits the entire system. She's the kind of woman who can walk into a room and not need to be noticed. And that's exactly why people notice her. Her energy doesn't scream, it hums, controlled, unbothered, powerful without trying. And that kind of quiet power disrupts everything built on ego and attention-seeking. People try to figure her out, box her in, fix her, tame her, or label her. But you can't decode someone who doesn't play by the same emotional economy. You can't manipulate someone who's already whole. That's why they get uncomfortable. That's why they gossip, criticize, or keep their distance. Because deep down, they wish they had what she has. Freedom without needing permission. So she walks alone, not because she has to, but because she chooses to. And she doesn't look back, not out of bitterness, but because there's nothing back there worth returning to. She's not seeking acceptance. She's not asking to be understood. She's already complete. And for a world that runs on insecurity, that's just too much to handle. Number 4, people want access, not connection. Sigma females have learned that most people don't approach them with curiosity. They approach with an agenda. They're not interested in who she is. They're interested in what they can extract. Her presence, her intelligence, her calm confidence. It draws people in, but not always for the right reasons. People want to stand next to her glow so they can feel important by association. They don't want connection. They want access. She's been the one people befriend just to pick her brain, soak up her energy, or use her as a stepping stone. They come in all sweet and supportive, but the moment she stops being useful to their ego or ambition, they vanish, or worse, turn hostile. That's how she learned the difference between real connection and strategic proximity. And now she can smell it a mile away. This is why Sigma females don't open their doors easily, because she's tired of being a resource instead of a person, tired of people attaching themselves to her just to borrow her essence. Everyone's networking now, performing friendship like a business transaction. Compliments are calculated, empathy is performative. Conversations feel like chess matches, and Sigma females, they don't play that game. When she connects, she does it with depth. She craves honesty, weirdness, and the kind of conversations that don't need filters. But most people show up wearing masks, only interested in taking what they can get. They want her insight, her peace, her perspective, but they don't want to give anything real in return. They want her time without offering loyalty. They want her attention without earning trust. And that imbalance disgusts her. So now she keeps her circle microscopic, not because she hates people, but because she refuses to be emotionally looted. She doesn't owe anyone her energy, her thoughts, or her presence. She's not some spiritual charger you plug into when your life's a mess. And if people can't offer genuine connection, then they don't get access. It's that simple. She's not cold, she's just done letting herself be emotionally shoplifted by people who only knock when they need something. You want access? Pay the price. Honesty, effort, depth. Otherwise, keep it moving. Number 5. Manipulation is the new love language. Sigma females have watched modern relationships turn into psychological warfare. It's no longer about understanding, loyalty, or emotional safety. It's about who can gain more power without looking desperate. Somewhere along the line, love stopped being about connection and started becoming a contest. Who cares less? Who replies slower? Who can withhold affection the longest and still keep the other person hooked? It's exhausting, and Sigma females aren't here for it. They've experienced people who smile in their face while silently pulling strings. One minute they're obsessed, the next they're cold. Hot and cold like a switch just to keep her guessing. But she doesn't play that game. She sees through the pattern. Gaslighting disguised as miscommunication. Breadcrumbing dressed up as busy. Emotional manipulation masked as love language differences. She's fluent in human behavior, and that's exactly why she checks out early. For most people today, control is mistaken for care. They think if they can make someone anxious, jealous, or unsure, it somehow proves they have power. But Sigma females aren't moved by those tactics. If anything, they lose interest the moment they detect mind games. She doesn't have time to decode your mixed signals. She's not here to compete for attention, affection, or basic respect. And when she does care, she loves with presence, with depth, not with manipulation or silent punishments. So when someone tries to make her feel small to feel big themselves, she doesn't fight for the relationship. She vanishes from it, not loudly, not dramatically, just gone. Because to her, walking away is more powerful than begging someone to stop mistreating her. It's not that she's afraid of love. She just refuses to settle for counterfeit versions of it. She doesn't mistake obsession for commitment, and she won't trade peace for someone else's chaos. The moment affection becomes a control tactic, she mentally signs out. And by the time the other person realizes she's gone, it's already too late. Sigma females don't do manipulation. They don't trick, trap, or test their partners, and they won't let anyone do it to them. If you can't be real, consistent, and emotionally mature, then you're not her person. No drama, no chase, just silence, and an exit you'll never come back from. Number 6. Society glorifies the loudest narcissist in the room. Everywhere she looks, the world seems to be handing microphones to the loudest narcissists in the room. It doesn't matter whether it's a politician, a celebrity, or that guru with a ring light and a podcast mic. If they speak with enough swagger and shamelessness, people fall in line. Society has become addicted to overconfidence, no matter how empty it is. The more arrogant someone is, the more followers they get. The more detached from reality, the more people call them inspiring. And Sigma females? They're disgusted. She sees through the smoke. The loud, chest-thumping, self-obsessed energy isn't confidence. It's insecurity in a tuxedo. But the problem is, the world no longer cares about substance. It rewards bold delusion and punishes quiet depth. It tells you to brand yourself, sell your story, stay visible, even if you're talking nonsense. Narcissism has become a career path. Authenticity, that's outdated. Introspection. Weak. If you're not aggressively self-promoting, you're invisible. Sigma females don't worship that kind of circus. They don't care how many followers someone has or how many headlines they make. They care about character, integrity, humility. Words that have gone out of fashion in a world obsessed with image. And since they refuse to play that game, they get labeled too quiet, too intense, or unapproachable. But the truth is, they just don't clap for fools in shiny packaging. She's watched people rise to power by manipulating others, selling fake success stories, or weaponizing charm. And every time society cheers, she checks out a little more. Not out of envy, but out of disappointment. Because if that's what humanity celebrates, she wants no part in it. She doesn't chase fame, clout, or attention, and she definitely doesn't follow people just because everyone else is. She's the type to spot the lie in the room before anyone else notices. While others are distracted by charisma, she's dissecting character. While others worship the mask, she's scanning for the truth behind it. And if all she sees is ego wrapped in confidence, she's not sticking around. Sigma females aren't here to play fan club for the world's most charming narcissist. She'd rather walk alone in truth than party in a room full of deluded noise. Number 7. Most people want validation, not truth. Sigma females didn't give up on humanity overnight. It happened slowly, every time they were punished for telling the truth. Over and over again, they found themselves in conversations where honesty was a landmine. People asked for feedback, advice, or opinions, but they didn't actually want the truth. They wanted confirmation. They wanted to be told they were doing great, thinking right, living perfectly. And if a Sigma female gave them anything real, they flinched, got defensive, or worse, turned the whole thing around and made her the problem. It's not that she's cold, it's that she refuses to lie to make someone feel better about a bad decision. If your relationship is toxic, she's not going to say relationships are hard. If your business idea is trash, she won't throw fake encouragement at it to spare your feelings. And in a world addicted to soft lies, that kind of brutal honesty is a threat. So what happens? People accuse her of being negative, too blunt, not supportive. But being supportive doesn't mean co-signing dysfunction. She tried at first to soften her edges, to dress the truth up in softer words. But even then it didn't land. People weren't interested in evolving. They were only interested in being right. And if you weren't part of that emotional echo chamber, you got kicked out. She got tired of conversations that felt like performances, tired of watching people fish for compliments and call it deep connection, tired of being asked for her opinion just so someone could argue with her for not telling them what they wanted to hear. And so, she stepped away. Now, she speaks when it matters. And when she senses the conversation is rigged, she doesn't waste her breath. She doesn't engage in ego games or fake debates designed to flatter someone's self-image. She's not here to play therapist to people who fear self-awareness. She's not a mirror for fragile egos. Most people want applause, not clarity. And once she realized that, she stopped trying to be understood. She didn't storm off. She just quietly exited the stage. Because she knows her truth has value, even if the room's not ready for it. And she'd rather talk to walls than lie to make people feel comfortable in their illusions. Number 8. Weak people keep calling strength toxic. Sigma females didn't start out thinking they were too much. They were told that. Told their strength was harsh, their independence was cold, and their confidence was intimidating. But the deeper truth? Those criticisms usually came from people who felt small in comparison. Not because Sigma females did anything wrong, but because they didn't need anyone's permission to be whole. And for the weak-hearted, that kind of self-possession feels like a personal attack. She says no without flinching. She sets boundaries without over-explaining. She walks away from disrespect without creating a scene. That used to be called maturity, clarity, or emotional intelligence. Now, it's toxic. Somehow, in this upside-down world, her refusal to tolerate nonsense makes her the villain. Because weak people don't see strength as inspiring. They see it as threatening. The truth is, she got tired of having to defend qualities that used to be admired. People used to respect independence. Now they pathologize it. They used to admire emotional control. Now they say she's detached. She draws a line and suddenly she's difficult. She prioritizes herself and suddenly she's selfish. It's exhausting. She's not shutting people out. She's just refusing to lower her standards to make fragile egos feel safe. And let's be honest, weak people love a strong woman until she says no, until she doesn't flinch, until she doesn't chase. That's when the name-calling starts. Cold, bossy, unapproachable. But Sigma females aren't moved by name tags from people who crumble under pressure. They've seen how quick people are to twist strength into villainy simply because they can't manipulate it. So now she doesn't bother defending it. If someone's uncomfortable with her power, they're not her people. If her boundaries offend them, good. They were never safe to begin with. She's not going to water herself down to be digestible. She's not going to apologize for growing spines where others expected softness. Sigma females didn't change. The world did. It became emotionally fragile, allergic to truth, and threatened by resilience. But instead of arguing with it, she simply detached. Let them call her toxic, while they worship people who crumble behind curated filters. She knows the difference between real strength and performative weakness, and she no longer explains herself to those who can't. Number 9. People only respect you after you ignore them. Sigma females picked up on one of humanity's most twisted patterns. People don't value consistency, loyalty, or presence. They value distance. They don't appreciate when you're available, kind, and present. But the moment you disappear, suddenly they remember you existed. Now they want to check in. Now they're curious. Now they respect you. And for Sigma females, that realization wasn't just disappointing, it was repulsive. She saw it in friendships, relationships, even work dynamics. While she was there, stable, reliable, authentic, she got overlooked, underestimated, or straight up ignored. But the minute she stopped answering texts, pulled back her energy, or went ghost, people came crawling out of the woodwork like she'd just become royalty. Not because they missed her soul, but because they missed access. Because absence suddenly made her valuable. And that's where humanity lost her. She's not here to play hide-and-seek with her worth. If it takes silence for someone to notice her value, then they were never truly interested in her to begin with. They were addicted to her presence, not her person. They didn't respect her when she was consistent, they just expected her. And Sigma females don't stick around to be someone's background noise. She's not going to vanish just to get basic attention. That's manipulation dressed up as emotional currency, and she doesn't barter with her energy like that. She watched people praise others not for depth or integrity, but for their ability to withhold. It's like society now respects who's the most emotionally unavailable, who can ghost the best, who can leave people hanging longer. That's not maturity, that's a sickness, and she refused to participate. Sigma females want real connection. If you can't see her value while she's present, don't bother chasing her when she's gone. She doesn't do emotional baiting. She doesn't withhold to feel powerful. But if people can't appreciate her when she's near, she has no problem vanishing, for good. She doesn't play games to feel wanted. She doesn't shrink to be noticed or run to be chased. And if the only way people can recognize her worth is through silence, that says everything about them, and nothing about her. Number 10. Loyalty is a myth when convenience is cheaper. Sigma females watched loyalty go extinct in real time. One moment people are swearing they've got your back, the next they're aligning with whoever's trending, offering more attention, or just happens to be nearby. Loyalty used to be built on shared values and unshakable integrity. Now, it's transactional, it's shallow. It lasts until the next dopamine hit, or until things get slightly inconvenient. And for someone like her, who operates on principle, not impulse, that's all the reason she needed to walk away. She's seen friends switch up when the room changed, partners who said forever but couldn't handle a rough patch, people who preached loyalty but sold it for crumbs the second it required effort. Loyalty today is just a placeholder until something more exciting, easy, or profitable comes along. It's a fake badge people wear until it costs them something real. Then they rip it off like it was never there. What's worse, society no longer shames this, it glorifies it. You're not called disloyal, you're called evolving. Flaky isn't weak anymore, it's just protecting your peace. Cheating? Following your heart. Backstabbing? Choosing yourself. Everyone's so obsessed with rebranding betrayal into self-care that they've forgotten loyalty means staying when it's uncomfortable, not when it's easy, not when it's Instagrammable. Sigma females don't play in that mud. When she commits, she's all in. Not blindly, not foolishly, but fully. She shows up even when it's not convenient. She defends people behind closed doors. She doesn't flip sides depending on the crowd or the mood. And because she holds others to that same standard, she constantly finds herself alone. Because the truth is, most people can't handle that level of real. So she unplugged from the fake loyalty system. She doesn't expect people to ride with her anymore. She doesn't believe in forever friends unless they've proven it through actions, not promises. Her circle is built brick by brick, not clicks and likes. And if someone chooses convenience over character, she deletes them like bad code, permanently. Loyalty isn't dead, it's just rare. And Sigma females don't beg for it, they embody it. And when the world fails to meet them at that level, they don't complain. They detach, quietly, entirely, irreversibly. Number 11. People confuse closeness with entitlement. Sigma females learned early that people don't really understand boundaries, they just test them. And the closer someone feels to her, the more they assume they're entitled to her time, energy, thoughts, or even emotional labor. Friends think access means availability. Partners think love means compliance. Family thinks blood means control. But to her, closeness isn't a free pass. It's a responsibility. And the moment someone uses proximity to push, guilt trip, or corner her, she's already halfway out the door. People act like knowing her is some kind of lifetime membership. They start calling at all hours, demanding explanations for her silence, questioning her choices like they own a piece of her decision-making. And when she doesn't respond the way they want, the guilt games start. You've changed. You're cold now. You used to be different. But the truth is, she hasn't changed. They just got too comfortable thinking she'd never draw a line. What most people don't get is that her independence doesn't disappear just because she cares about you. She can love you and still need space. She can respect you and still not agree with you, but that nuance goes over most heads. Instead, they treat her closeness like a contract she never signed, a contract that says she owes them explanations, constant emotional support, and zero resistance. But Sigma females don't let emotional squatters live rent-free in their lives. The minute someone starts weaponizing closeness to manipulate her, she goes silent. Not to punish, but to protect. Her peace comes first, always. And if people can't respect her space, they don't get to occupy it. No debate, no second chances, no dramatic exit, just a quiet closing of the gate and a world of distance that they'll never bridge again. She's not hard to reach. She's just selective about who gets through. If being close to her makes someone forget she's a person with boundaries, not a possession with buttons to push, then they've misunderstood everything. She's not here to be someone's emotional vending machine. So yes, she'll walk away mid-sentence if it starts to feel like control. And when she leaves, there's no revenge, no chaos, just silence. Because for her, peace isn't something to negotiate, it's something to protect. Number 12. Most friendships are business transactions in disguise. Sigma females have always seen through the glitter. While others were getting excited about new besties and ride or dies, she was quietly observing, watching patterns, noticing how many friendships were less about connection and more about convenience. She learned the hard way that most people don't want a friend. They want a plug, a ticket, a benefit, something they can screenshot, brag about, or quietly extract energy from. And when the perks dry up, so does the friendship. People have become transactional to the core. They'll smile in your face, laugh at your jokes, and make big declarations of loyalty, all while quietly calculating what they can get from you. Your platform, your vibe, your emotional labor, your connections. And once you stop serving their unspoken needs, you're not even worth a hope you're well text. You're just archived like an expired coupon. Sigma females picked up on the pattern fast. People who only called when they needed something. Friends who vanished the moment she set a boundary. Conversations that felt more like interviews than intimacy. And because she's not wired to play along, she stopped playing altogether. She doesn't wait to be used. She preemptively exits the game. She started archiving people, mentally, emotionally, even digitally, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. If the energy feels off, if the support is conditional, if the friendship only works when she's saying yes or being useful, she cuts the cord, quietly, fully, no warnings, no dramatics. Because she doesn't need fake connections. She doesn't crave company that costs her peace. People call her too cold or guarded, but they never ask what made her that way. She didn't become this way for fun. She adapted to a world where intimacy is exploited and loyalty is conditional. She's not bitter. She's efficient. She doesn't hate people. She just refuses to keep investing in social arrangements disguised as emotional scams. So now she keeps her circle microscopic. Trust is earned through consistency, not charisma. She listens more than she shares, and if someone thinks friendship is a business model, she wishes them well and blocks them like spam. Because Sigma females don't do networking, they do real. And if that's too rare for this generation, so be it. She'd rather be alone than rented. The further she walked from humanity, the clearer she saw herself. Sigma females didn't give up on people overnight. It wasn't one betrayal, one heartbreak, or one disappointment that broke the spell. It was years of slow realizations stacked on top of each other like bricks forming a wall she didn't even mean to build. But one day, she looked up and realized she wasn't angry, just done. She had been too real for a world that feeds on performance, too self-sufficient for people who need others to validate their existence, too grounded for a culture obsessed with drama, trends, and curated chaos. Every time she showed up with honesty, she was met with manipulation. Every time she offered depth, she was met with distraction. Every time she led with loyalty, she was met with opportunism. So she stopped showing up, not out of bitterness, but out of deep, earned clarity. Sigma females watched humanity trade authenticity for aesthetics, connection for clout, integrity for influence. They saw people replace truth with trends and mistake noise for value. And they knew this isn't their tribe. This isn't their rhythm. This isn't their fight. They didn't abandon the world. The world abandoned what was real. And they simply refused to pretend they didn't notice. She doesn't hate people. She just knows better than to hand over her energy to a system built on emotional debt, double standards, and invisible strings. She doesn't isolate because she's broken. She isolates because she's done explaining herself to people addicted to misunderstanding her. Her peace isn't a defense mechanism, it's her default. Her silence isn't passive, it's power. You'll rarely hear a Sigma female complaining loudly about betrayal, toxicity, or fake people. She just disappears, quietly, completely, and permanently. And that's what unsettles the world most, her refusal to beg, explain, or return. She doesn't crave revenge or validation, she craves peace, freedom, and truth. And since the world couldn't offer that, she built it herself. So yes, she gave up on humanity, but not on humanity. Not on nature, solitude, creativity, love, or meaning. Just the noisy, transactional, superficial mess people turned connection into. And from her quiet corner of clarity, she thrives, unbothered, untamed, and completely unapologetic. She didn't walk away from people, she walked back to herself. If this spoke to something deep in you, if you felt seen, heard, or just brutally validated, then don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button and join the tribe that gets it. Smash the like if you're done entertaining fake friendships, shallow conversations, and society's nonsense. Drop a comment below. What part hit hardest? What truth are you done pretending about? And if you know someone who's silently walking the same road as a Sigma female, share this with them. Let them know they're not crazy. They're just ahead of the curve. Stay sharp. Stay free. Stay unapologetically you.